Oh,
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, but I made it.
Looks like please don't do it. You're in a project now, right?
Yeah, I learned with my spray that and who knew this? If you use the spray oil, it'll stick.
Yeah.
You have to use the real line. I don't know why, but it works.
I don't know as much.
Yeah.
Look out of
When I
it,
was
something
doing
like
like,
that.
when I
It's
had
different.
Yeah, there's some.
except for some of you. The second half.
Yeah, I try to leave mine on all day and I always end up taking them. I just do.
I know that we contrast all days.
Mhm. When somebody walks in the room,
Exactly.
I'm gonna get bigger pants this next time.
Hey, Sean,
I
how are
don't have
you?
to do this.
Seems small today.
It is, we're
Then
missing
I won't
quite a
see
few
the rim.
people.
It's like, see. Oh, the games I play, I get on.
So Andy just heard Courtney, she's not gonna make it.
Okay.
Rest of them seems to be making it. I see Brittany's on line. Give it another minute, just.
Yes.
Figure out a new system on my ID card. So if I have it on- is that like- I don't know if we're good over. Maybe because you have from Rhonda.
Brittany is online. And I never heard from Rhonda or Pietrek or Natalie, all except at the meeting.
Yeah, usually they show, they don't
Yeah.
actually. Maybe they're just trying to wait.
No, it's just getting.
Hey, Rhonda.
Where am I today?
Must be over here.
Right here next to me.
Sit next to me. What is that?
They punish you. Must have said something.
I did.
Get your name for the.
You're right here. Now it's right.
And make sure, bikes are very directional steering.
Good. How are you doing? Good.
Good afternoon, Airport Advisory Committee members and guests. Today is October the 18th, 2023. The current time is 12:02 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order. Team EUG is committed to creating a welcoming and safe community for everyone and a place where every person can experience a sense of belonging. The Airport Advisory Committee is committed to maintaining a respectful environment for all committee members and guests. I would like to start by asking guests at today's meeting to introduce themselves.
Uda Obi, the Administration and Financial Compliance Officer for the airport.
Brian Mulcahy, I'm the environmental project manager for the airport.
I'm John Casoli. I work for Unify. Been now here 22 years.
Miles Hanson, Orange Company.
Thank you. The purpose of this committee is to develop recommendations for city staff by providing an ongoing citizen perspective and review of the airport activity report, airport capital improvement plan, airport enterprise budgeting process, and changes to the airport administration policy. As stated in the committee bylaws, members have the obligations to consider the welfare of the entire city, to be fair, objective, and courteous. We have established the following meeting decorum guidelines to ensure a cohesive and equitable environment for committee members and guests. Guests at the meeting are asked to sign in and introduce themselves when asked. Public comment at the end of each meeting shall be limited to 10 minutes unless majority of the committee members present vote to extend the time. The presiding officer shall establish a time limit for each speaker and may limit the number of speakers. With that said, I'd like to give the floor over to Catherine Stevens for the airport director's report.
Thank you, Cedric. Appreciate that. And we'll go into the activity report. Andrew's not in today, so I will do my best to do this activity report for you. So as far as the September activity report for operations, you can see that we are trying to read the eye chart here, making sure I'm reading the right line. So we're about 1% down in total operations compared to last September, and overall for the year, down about 6.73%. For air carrier landings, we're slightly up at 0.38%, and overall down by about 7.5%. For in-plane passengers, we are up about more than 13%, and year-to-date, 8%. And then for total passengers, we're still tracking at about 12% above 2022 in September, and overall for year-to-date at about 8.5%. The airline load factor is right in that sweet spot at 82%. With most of our airlines enjoying a 80% range load factor. Southwest a little bit lower just because they've added so much capacity recently. And then as far as the airline market share, you can see that Southwest is the dominant carrier. However, we have a market share that's spread out amongst many airlines, which is also healthy to see. And then our air cargo in plane pounds down about 2% compared to last September and down about 8% compared to year to date. Any questions on the September activity report? Okay. With that, we will move on to our September financial report. And Patricia.
All right. For September, we're 7% under budget on our revenue, but we're 8% over last year's. Our personnel is 26% below budget, and that's because we have a couple of vacancies, our project manager, program specialist, and a properties manager. It's a little bit above last year because we did add some positions. The capital budget, that's catching up over time. Each month we add a little more budget, so it will eventually catch up. And the 25,816 is for the purchase of a John Deere diesel zero-turn mower. Central services, that just chugs along at 1/12 each month. Total operating is 23% below budget and 3% above last year. We're in a positive operating position of a little bit over 1.7 million without the relief grants or the capital transfer. We've drawn down ARPA relief funds of about 1.6 million, and we made a transfer of 3 million from the operating to capital, leaving our operating fund with just under $400,000 to date. All right, my favorite, the slides. So when you're looking at this, the green lines are the one that you're looking at. And to date, our revenue is just chugging along, kind of mirroring last year, looking really well. Expense as well is pretty much on target from last year, a little bit above, and that's just due to those little additions that we did. If we grow, we have to add. And then the cumulative net gain, now this is without the relief grants, and you can see the green line there. We're on that healthy trajectory that we had last year, the blue line. So overall, good trajectory on our net gain to date.
Any question on the financial report? Okay, great. And then Mariah Mulcahy is going to step in and do our project report today.
So we'll do some project updates for today. We're in fall now and the rains come in pretty heavy, so we should be pretty close to all these projects being complete. This project specifically, the quick turnaround facility, achieved substantial completion at the end of July. We're waiting on a few minor punch list items. And then we're also finishing up contract for a third party to make sure they will be doing the maintenance of that facility. So we are hoping and having a goal of becoming fully operational and open as of November 1st. With this project coming online and this construction being complete, we are starting a conversation about how we're going to utilize the old car wash area in front of the terminal here. That is something we are currently working on and hope to be able to utilize that area even before we do any demolition or construction work of that old area as well. Next slide, please. As you've all seen, is that covered walkway. This project is completed. We are currently exploring options to have it lowered. It's a little tall for our liking, and we are, like I said, we are exploring options for that. That is currently something we're working on, and the contractor who built the prior project, the QTA, is somebody we are working with to, again, looking at options to lower that. Yeah, next slide, please. The next project here is Charlie Mike Rehab and Improvements. This was just showing the phasing schedule and highlighting the area on the airfield where the project is occurring. We are currently at the very tail end of that phasing schedule and hope to be completely done by November 1st. That's the goal, weather dependent. Airfield operations is maintained close monitoring of that project to ensure everyone's operating accordingly and to safety standards. Next slide, please. That's just some pictures of the project area. And the last project here is the Remain Overnight Heavy Pad Apron. This project, again, is near completion with the expectation of November 1st, weather dependent. All of the concrete, these pictures are a little old, but all of the concrete's completely done and it's curing. And last update I got was that we had one more day of asphalt paving. And then from that, we will, again, November 1st, expecting to take that area over. And that would be the end of our projects for this summer. So aside from these projects listed, now we're working kind of on the back end to prepare for the projects for next summer, making sure we're getting all of the permitting and environmental done so that we can keep our grants in line and continue to, increase development and make Eugene a better airport.
Any questions on the project update? Okay, then we're going to move on to the presentation for this month, which is finance and administration.
Me again. So usually I do an overview of how the rates are set and all of that, but I thought this time we'd do something a little different. We'll get a little deeper into how we're structured and all of that. So hi, I'm Patricia Newton. I'm the Assistant Airport Director for Finance and Admin here at the Eugene Airport. We're a small hub airport located about 10 miles northwest of Eugene, which is the 5th largest airport in the Pacific Northwest, serving a 6-county region in mid-Oregon. 7 commercial airlines are providing direct flights and connections to all parts of the nation and the world. Current airlines serving Eugene Airport are Alaska, Allegiant, American, Avelo, Delta, Southwest, and United. In 2022, the Eugene Airport served approximately 1.6 million passengers. The City of Eugene is our sponsor, and we're a division within the Public Works Department of the City of Eugene. We purchase services from the City of Eugene from the listed items above. I won't read them all to you, you can just see them. We pay for all of our personnel, operations, maintenance, and capital improvements, and we retain all of our revenue generated at the airport. We receive no general funds. The airport has 2 funds. 511 for operations and maintenance, and 512 for capital projects. EUG is committed to maintaining at least a 12-month reserve of approximately $14 million. We are currently debt-free. Okay, in 2019, the light blue line up there was a good year. We were keeping a healthy net gain. Flights and passengers were increasing. In 2020, the orange line, we were keeping on track with 2019, looking good until March of 2020, when COVID arrived and enplanements took a huge dip, and you can see that sudden downward trend. In 2021, the gray line, and that kind of describes how we all felt at the time, revenue bottomed out and we had a net negative. 2022, the yellow line, we started to see glimpses of hope. Then in December of 2021, traffic began to dramatically increase, and we finished well above 2019 pre-pandemic numbers. The dark blue line on the top is 2023, and we stayed on an upward trajectory throughout most of the year, topping our 2022 numbers. We were really blessed to receive some relief grants from the federal government. The CARES grant, the O&M, the 12.75 million is spent and gone. The capital of 10 million is currently being used in the new RON heavy pads that Mariah talked about, and that will be gone at the end of that project. The CRISA funds for O&M, 3.7 have been spent, and we're currently working on the ARPA funds for our O&M at 6.4. Like it says at the bottom of the screen, these grants allowed us to build up a reserve and be able to transfer to our capital fund and keep all those projects going. As you know, all the grants require a match, and so we have to have our local money to be able to do that. So in fall of 2020, we put out an RFP for a financial advisor, and Landerman Brown was selected, and we issued a contract for those services up there. We have a new rate model that they've created that provides a clear revenue sharing at the end that we can negotiate with the airlines, taking into consideration our capital improvement each year. The rules and standards combined one document from 2, and that was for consistency and to remove any possible conflicts between the 2 documents, again, for clarity. The lease language and policy, after reviewing all of the leases, it became clear we had a problem and we needed to bring about change so that like entities are treated equally. We're currently implementing this new policy and lease template, which includes reversionary clauses. We're currently working with Landerman Brown to negotiate a new airline agreement, holding regular meetings with the airlines, discussing the new rate model we would like to implement, as well as our capital improvement program. In September of 2021, the terminal reached capacity with all ticket counters, all gates, and all remain overnight aircraft parking spaces under full utilization. Year-end 2022, EUG served a record 791,028 enplaned passengers, 30% above the pre-pandemic year-end of 2019. 3 new airlines were recruited and began service in 2021. AHA, which is no longer operating, Avelo, and Southwest. The expanded air service, combined with a successful Fly Local, Fly EUG marketing campaign, led EUG to an unprecedented 10% improvement in passenger retention, with a significant increase in passengers choosing to utilize EUG instead of driving to PDX. In 2022, Eugene Airport went through an extensive, inclusive, advanced terminal planning process, which provided a detailed analysis of the projects listed above. Okay, in September of 2021, the terminal reached capacity. Oops. Are we on the right slide? I need the next slide. Yeah, there we go. We've completed enabling projects to help with our current growth and allow for the build out of Concourse C. These projects will allow movement of current services that are within the footprint of future development. The new RON pads will eventually become the apron for Concourse C. We've been contacted by TSA as being an airport that has been identified as needing an inline baggage system, of which they will grant 95%. We will need to fund the rest as well as pay for the building it will be housed in. Our current RON positions are at capacity each evening, creating 5 new RONs built to handle the larger planes that are being used in EUG now will help our airline partners with early morning flights and with mechanical problems needing a place to park overnight. This project will complete in October of 2023. The taxiway Juliet and Lima expansion project will widen the existing taxiways, allowing EUG to maximize the utilization of the air cargo facility by allowing larger air cargo, military, and disaster relief aircraft to move safely onto the air cargo ramp. This project will make EUG competitive in attracting larger air cargo carriers. Currently, PDX is the only Oregon airport with dedicated cargo jet activities. This project will also sponsor passenger charter operations on larger aircraft not currently able to utilize the facility. This project will occur in 2024. From the advanced terminal study, improvements to the current terminal, including 15,000 square foot of increased queuing space for airline ticketing and additional airline office suites with restrooms and kitchenettes, along with 2 additional return baggage belts, a modern outgoing baggage system, and additional TSA screening area. During discussions with university representatives, the primary anticipated user of the charter terminal, a strong preference was indicated for their passengers to be completely separated from other passengers using the terminal building. This layout achieves that through the use of a swing gate, a gate area that can be closed off to standard travelers when being used for charter services, but opened up to all of Concourse C otherwise. A parking loop integrated existing parking approaches allows buses to drop off large groups of passengers without needing to completely redevelop the site. Here's a look at Concourse C expansion concept. If you look to the right, that small U sticking out is the new charter facility with a swing gate so commercial airlines can use it when it's not being used by charters. We're looking to have LED lighting that can change colors to match the teams as they use the facility. In the picture to the right, you can see the swing gate that locks into place when not being used by charters to become a commercial airline gate. With all the future planning, we need to keep in mind upcoming technology changes and how they will affect the use of airport space. This is possible financing options for the various pieces of this project. It's an expensive one, and so we're looking at weaving several together. There's the GARB, the General Airport Revenue Bond, the PFC passenger facility charge, which is charged on each ticketed passenger. There's the new TIFIA that was just opened up to airports. It's been for roads previously, and it's opened up. It'll fund 33% of the project costs, and it's currently offered at a little over 4%. Like I said earlier, the TSA has offered a grant for inline baggage system, which will cover 95%. Again, we have to match that 5%. We're looking at the FAA ATP grant. It's a competitive process, and we're looking to fund part of the terminal maybe next year. There's also the P3, the public-private partnership, which people are using now, and there's benefactor funding. We're also looking at increasing the CPE, the cost per enplanement for the airlines, through a reduction in revenue sharing. Probably need to go out for an RFP for many of these funding options, and we're working with central services to do that. Thank you. You have any questions? That was a lot of information. Okay.
Right, Cedric, that is our report. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Catherine. At this time, open the floor to guests. Any questions,
Versus
comments?
the committee members.
Oh,
Sorry.
guys. Yes, committee members, any questions, comments? Okay. At this time, any questions, comments from any of our guests?
You didn't have anybody signed up to speak.
If there's nothing else, the current time is 12:25 p.m. Meeting adjourned.
Well, that was a fast meeting.
Slow like this, this works.
Right. Well, good to see everybody.